Hello everyone and welcome back to the Cyclocross Social podcast. The World Cup has reached its halfway point. We are here to discuss the sixth round of the UCI Cyclocross World Cup, which took place in Koksijde today. The infamous course is back at its iconic finish, the one where Paul Herreigers got off his bike to celebrate his world title in the 1990s. And with me here to discuss the action is Issam.
Yes, thank you for having me.
A good day out today. I was in Koksijde, made it back safely. Koksijde moved from Golazzo to Flanders Classics. They didn't like the direction their race took when they were in the X2O trophy. They moved to the Christmas period but saw a notable drop in attendance. They shifted back to the World Cup now. And I'm thinking here a little bit about that. Was that move a success? I'm not too sure. I was there earlier this year, the 4th of January, so last season as well, and the public attendance seemed to be roughly similar. Maybe a little bit more busy now, but I was thinking more about just, is it a failure of Golazzo that the public attendance for Koksijde dipped, or is it another problem? And I came to that conclusion because the Christmas period has become so saturated, Issam, and Koksijde is way out there. It's all the way at the coast. It's close to the French border. There were quite some French fans there today. And with this many races in the Christmas period, I think it's a lot easier for people to say, well, I could go to Koksijde or I just wait 2 days and then there's a race like right around the corner, maybe just 20 minutes away. And many of the courses here at Christmas are classics, so the appeal of I'm going to drive to Koksijde in November to attend a real classic has kind of dropped away. But what I will say, because I want to be positive today, I like the fact that at the end of the Herreigers doing the first time, they took away this running section. The course is already hard enough. You can implement more sand riding skills this way, and we got that. Also positive, the caretaking for the press in Koksijde, one of the best. Catering room for the press, drinks, some food. Also emails sending you a lot of updates, the results, everything in your inbox. Very nice organization in that sense. So certainly maybe not the effect they had hoped for, but I like to be positive today. So yeah, it was a good day out.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot share any experiences in that regard, but I think you're definitely right on the fact that they are now in a place in which you just have big race after big race after big race, and I don't think they can really differentiate from the other races. You know, they are labeled as a dune cross, a sand race for the sand specialists, but so is Antwerp trying to put themselves forward as one. So is Hofstade trying to do, and it's like you're trying to have, you see it in several sports actually, where they try to have one event and then they look at it and they see the success and they're like, okay, let's try to extend it. And it feels like the Christmas period is hurting the Koksijde a little bit. I don't know, it's hard to say that if they would move to another date, it would help them or not. But yeah, I have to say that I was looking at the season. For me, to be honest, how it looked on the broadcast, it looked decent. It looked quite good. But as you said, it didn't look like it was much more as it was last year. So yeah, I don't know if you can call it a success in that regard, but I for sure can imagine that in terms of organization and the way they have set themselves up, it must be better. It must be an improvement. And if it isn't, it would probably be a big shame from Flanders Classics that they have not been able to fix that in a way or improve on that.
Probably still roughly around those 10,000 spectators or maybe slightly below. Definitely not a poor public attendance in that regard. And mainly the reason for that was that the world champion Mathieu van der Poel was at the start. No Thibaut Nys, no Wout van Aert, but the world champion was there. And yesterday we spent a lot of time in the podcast discussing, well, where do we stand now? Namur, now Antwerp, a relatively easy win. What are we going to see going forward? And what we speculated was that Van der Poel on most courses wouldn't really face much opposition from the other riders there. And today that was definitely the case because he took the lead early on. He briefly broke away for a while also with his two teammates, Thibaut Grosso and Niels van der Putten. But then Zweek made a couple of fabulous sand passages, managed to bring a group back. Van der Poel didn't seem too fazed by it, sat in a little bit on the road, not too crazy, and then about 20-25 minutes into the race he took off, wasn't really seen again at any point, opened a big gap, and just like yesterday, took it easy in the final 2 laps, won eventually by 7 seconds. The battle for second was much, much more tense. Toon Aerts was in there for a while, but ultimately it was Alpecin duo Niels van der Putten, Thibaut de Grosso facing Alpecin satellite team Crelan Corendon rider Laurens Sweeck. Sweeck and De Grosso had the finesse in the sand. Van der Putten was under pressure, but always still hanging in there, mainly due to a very strong day. He seemed very powerful today. De Grosso, I favored him for most of the race. He appeared strong, but at the end of the race, a few mistakes creeped in. He appeared to have some more lingering back issues. That is what held him back yesterday in the second part of the race. He was dropped, managed to come back, but made a mistake off camera in the second passage of the Herreigersduin, went into the fence, went down, and from there on, Sweeck went on to take second ahead of Van der Putten. Issam, I enjoyed that battle for second. I did see quite some bit of the big screen. I was on the Herreigersduin for almost the entirety of the men's race. The TV direction, which you complained about yesterday, certainly didn't really do justice of that great battle for second place, unfortunately.
No.
Lots of moments off camera. But the spotlight was on Mathieu van der Poel. And to a degree that makes sense, because his performance today was also great. When he broke away early on in the race, I believe it was the start of the second lap, light work for him. Light work. Herreigersduin, no problem. He just sends it through there, rides to the end. Wah, light work for the world champion. No big deal. We can talk about the specialists. Sweeck, De Grosso arguably becoming one. But at the same time, the stand skills of Van der Poel, also very, very good. Maybe not as finesse, not as light on the bike as Laurens Sweeck. But as a cyclocross fan, just being there, seeing them like go through the sand, one of the hardest features of cyclocross, and just seeing these masters at work is just pure joy. So in that sense, I can't really complain too much about how much Van der Poel was on the screen. He was simply the strongest today, but I will also say that just saying it's just the power, that would be too easy.
No. It's not. It's a great combination of the two. And with Van der Poel, you sometimes have the idea that it's like a Land Rover that is aiming at his destination and just plows through the sand in a way. But you can definitely see that there are corrections, and he can play with the balance. He can play with the sand. He can go from one rut to the other, where others maybe struggle, and that is maybe where the power comes in as well. He can correct his way in the sand, and I was impressed mainly, overall in the race how he was able to get through the sand was very good. But the last lap, to be still able to go through that first passage of the Herreigersduin, and I would say almost with ease, no mistakes, didn't unclip there, hold his line, hold the balance, it's impressive. And I felt like he, in the first phase of the race, he tried it once, he tried to attack, he tried to put them under pressure, and then I felt like he kind of let them come back. Sweeck definitely put in quite an effort to get back to him, but I felt that Van der Poel maybe was like, well, it's not for now. We can wait a little bit. And in his post-race interview, he also indicated that he cannot always try and go from the start. And I think that is part of the maturing Van der Poel. He's now a rider that is more sensible, that knows that he has to take his time in the races. There are a lot of races that are coming up for him in quite a short time. Despite the fact that he is picking his way through those races, you have to be sensible. And I think today we saw a sensible Van der Poel that was able to play with the sand the way he wanted to, and was able to play with the competition the way he wanted to, and just had enough in the tank to make sure that it was not going to be a fight for that first place. So, all props to the world champion. Showed again that he is levels. It is what it is. But, behind them, Sweeck, in my opinion, rode a smart race. But, the way he gets through the sand, I think you can still credit him the king of the dunes, the king of sand. In terms of, as a specialist, he's definitely a sand specialist. The best, in my opinion, still. But De Grosso today, and, we have seen it in the past, But today again, he showcased that he is also someone to reckon with in terms of riding through the sand. He can do it very well and is able to get through the sand as well with incredible technique. So it was a pleasure to see that, to see how they were able to go through. It was a shame that we didn't really see a battle for first, but I think that in the end we still got a nice battle for the rest of the podium places. And it is a very big shame that we were yet again not able to witness race key moments, defining moments for the podium, in the fact that, Del Grosso crashed. We didn't see it. I heard it on the broadcast minutes later. And it's just, there are so many ways to solve that. You can go for onboards, you can try to have like a split screen, whatever, even if you're not able to catch it with the cameras, maybe with the onboards you can still find some footage and show it. And it's incredible that we have now, like today and also yesterday, we just have, race after race, we have moments that are not shown, and then they are, they actually implicate a lot in the race, and it's a big of a shame. But it is the way the broadcasting is in cyclocross at the moment, and hopefully that will improve one day. But I don't see any improving in the coming, maybe even years. It's quite bad.
Enough complaining. We are positive today, Issam. And
oh yeah, my bad.
I get the frustration though, because we've discussed this many times, also in previous episodes, about the marketing of cross and the broadcast, whatever. But I would kill to just have 30%, heck, even 20% of the finesse of Laurens Sweeck, because we have multiple types of sand sections here in Koksijde. We have power sand sections. Take for instance the Albert-Dune. You need to be able to throttle up and through corners. And then we have the downhill sand sections, which really require floating and getting up to speed, more acceleration, but not as much power. And then we have the Herreigersdune, which is just a really long sand section, also with elevation, but kind of an in-betweener. And last year, we saw that Sweeck was actually under pressure in the sand sections that came down more to sand riding. Take, for instance, the Herreigersdune. Sweeck required, for his result, a lot of power through the power sections. But here, this year, I felt that between Del Grosso and Sweeck, it was almost the opposite from last year when the two fought for the win. Sweeck was, again, like just so good in the Herreigersdune. A couple of great passages there. And he was the one probably responsible for the fact that it took this long for Van der Poel to ride away. But in order to do that, it required absolute perfection. One mistake and he was gone. And that happened. You can't expect, especially on a course like this, for anybody to not make any mistakes. But Sweeck, he's really turned it around this season. We discussed that yesterday as well. This is also when he needs to do it, right? Because we've had a number of courses that don't really suit him, and then we come to Christmas and all of a sudden there are Sweeck courses again. Antwerp yesterday, today Koksijde, tomorrow Hofstade, another good course for him. I'm not 100% sure if he's starting Zolder, but another fast course which suits him well. If I was Sweeck, I would do it and then not go to Gavere. And if it's raining, I would also give forfait for Dendermonde if I was Sweeck. Yeah, it's probably hard for him now because he's leading the World Cup, but maybe he does do them. But Sweeck and Gavere, we already know that even as a World Cup leader, he's not going to score too many points because it will be muddy, it will be quite a lot of climbing. Sweeck doesn't really like that type of course, but it's a really good opportunity to showcase himself, and this is really what he needed after that tough season start. So it was a very good ride by him. I do think that Del Grosso at some point is destined to win this race because just watching him was also a pleasure. I think the difference in style between the two is also worth noting. Sweeck kind of light on the bike, very floating above the saddle. Del Grosso with a bit more panache. It looks a bit rougher to me. Spectacular more. Whereas Sweeck has the elegance in his riding style through the sand. So I thought that was very interesting to observe those differences in style between those two, and they did well. For Del Grosso, like I just mentioned, he has had some back issues in Namur and also in Antwerp yesterday. You could see him stretch quite a lot today. It's definitely a bit of a worrying sign, and I hope all will be well. Despite that, he nearly came into podium contention again, despite kind of ballooning out at the end, but he managed to repack himself, came back into the wheels, seemed to be ready to sprint, is what he said after the finish, but then crashed and game over for that. So good day for Alpecin. I thought the funny thing was, I heard later on the broadcast, they said, is Alpecin going to lock out the podium, or is Sweeck going to prevent that? And here, yeah, the Roodhoof brothers probably have a smiling grin on their face at that point, because this is just the illusion of choice, Issam. Alpecin or Alpecin satellite team Crelan. A great day for the Roodhoof brothers, locking out the entire top 4, and in the top 10 there were, I think, 3 riders not racing for their team.
Yeah. I think it's for them. It's like Christmas coming a little early. And Van de Putte also today, as you said, he had a strong day, and it has been a while since we saw Van de Putte having such a day. So I think that also has to be mentioned, and deservingly, I guess, on the podium. Del Grosso, I guess, the efforts that he put in the race, he definitely also deserved to be on the podium. But you got to stay on your bike. You should not make mistakes, and that is also part of it. So I think that Van de Putte, he was the one that was struggling, I guess, a little bit the most. But he was always trying to hang on, and he had enough to hang on. And I think that was, for him, key, to have good legs, to be able to compensate a little bit and make as little mistakes as possible. And he did that. So I think that also from his side, a very good race. He didn't have an answer on Sweeck, and there's no shame in that. And I think that, he got rewarded for hanging on, I guess, with third, just by the way he was racing. And I think that for Alpecin, it was a good race. For the Roodhoof brothers, they definitely are with a big smile heading towards the next couple of races. And why shouldn't they be having no smiles? That your world champion, your man is winning the races, and behind them it's the other riders that are looking out yesterday and today. So they are all on a roll. They're doing a fantastic job, and I have to say there are some riders that I might have expected a little bit more, towards the front, that haven't been able to do so. And Van Toornhout maybe is one of the riders that I was thinking like maybe be playing a role more up front. Hasn't been able to do that. Was basically always not there. Always trying to fight back to a certain position, but it was never relevant, I guess. And eventually falls back to 9th. So it's maybe a little bit the circumstances, but for sure they are also in super form, and that helps.
Alpecin, at least for now, my premature conclusion is that they're hitting their form peak at the exact right time. And of course it helps for them that they have Van der Poel, Del Grosso entering the season at this point. That kind of inflates it, right? But it must be great for them. Like, they're always there with this huge setup in which they combine these riders together. Crelan riders, most of them have their camper van, but there's also Crelan riders warming up with the Alpecin team bus, the Alpecin truck. So that's a massive setup. Cameron Mason always in there as well. So yeah, I agree with your point about Van Toornhout though, Issam. He didn't have a great weekend so far. I don't think he's racing tomorrow, but I say that with caution because he is actually still up there in the X2O classification. I should not be making any statements about the start list for the upcoming days. We will see who is there. But regardless, there's many opportunities to come. That is the point I wanted to make for Van Toornhout. These are not the best Van Toornhout courses. He is a very versatile rider, can do just fine anywhere, but he's not a man for the fast courses. He's not necessarily a man for the sand courses. Michael Van Toornhout, Kam Gaveren, Kam Dendermonde, those are the Christmas races that will suit him more. Gullegem, another one that's good for him. Baal, those are the type of courses that are better for Mikey Van Toornhout. And similarly, I think we can say the same for Pim Ronnaar. He was up there, but then also made a number of mistakes, had a tumble, fell back again, finished outside of the top 10. Van der Haar at some point also moved up, but fell back again, unfortunately. So I don't really know what happened with Van der Haar, but definitely for Baloise Glory Lions in the elite category with Van der Haar and Ronhaar, a bit of a sad day. Although Ronhaar did extend his contract recently, so with that they seem to have their successor to Van der Haar. At least that's how they presented him, secured. Let's go over the entire top 10. Van der Poel, Sweeck, Van der Putte, Del Grosso, the top 4 we discussed. Aerts in 5th, ahead of Toon van der Bos. 7th, Joran Wieseuren, improving. There are definitely signs of life, as we concluded yesterday. Mason 8th on a course that doesn't necessarily suit him either. Van Toornhout 9th, and Mees Hendricks coming in for 10th place. Emile Verstringen missed out on the top 10. I think he crashed as well late in the race. He was quite upset after the race, at first refusing to take pictures with fans, then cooled down and then came back to take those pictures. So definitely a race in which everyone has their own story. Felipe Orts, another rider who hasn't been really having the form recently, is on 21st position. Definitely a negative outlier for him today. Well, is it an outlier actually? I guess the point was more the Felipe Orts we saw at the start of the season we haven't seen in a while.
He's searching for that, and I think today was that was not it. So that to then try and make the best out of it. But the issue with the period that we are in right now, there is not really a week where you can regroup and try to find something or try to relax a little bit, forget about the race. You're right in it, and if you don't have an explanation for your performances, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a tough couple of races that you're going into. Doesn't mean that he is, not per se going to improve on the form that he has right now. It could very well be the case, but it's just bad. It's bad, and then it could ruin all your classifications if you are in any of them. It's just not great for the morale as well, because then you just have so many races following up and not doing well. So hopefully he can find the right way back, and I really hope that he can find some of that form that he had in the beginning of the season, because back then he looked quite good and he was able to maintain that for quite a while. Then he kind of went away, came back. We saw those results in the Copa de España where he was able to win against competition that is not really relevant. You're kind of hoping that he comes back in a good form, and that hasn't really been the case, and today was just a very, very bad day. There must have been something going on. I think I don't know what it was, maybe mechanical or something. I'm guessing. I have no idea. But it's worse than his form maybe is, because I think that, if you look at his race in Antwerp, wasn't amazing, but it was not as bad as it was today. So hopefully it was just an exception, and then he can he can try and bounce back. And on Van Toornout, by the way, I've been reading here on the Sporza website that Van Toornout has an illness, is sick, and he's not going to start in Hofstade. So that explains both his bad results, I guess, in a way, and the fact, and confirms that he's not going to be starting tomorrow in the XO Trophy, despite the fact that he's not that bad there in the classification.
Yeah, so I thought I picked that up, but I wasn't too sure. I just heard some headlines on the Belgian news in one of the gas stations. I stopped that on the way back, but couldn't really tell if it was correct. So apparently that is correct, Van Toornout not going. About the illnesses, lots of riders coughing quite bad after the finish. Definitely some bugs going around in the peloton at this phase, which is always the case, and we'll hear it a lot more. Some people will be actually sick. There will be some people who have a Klaas Van Toornout disease, namely a fake disease, so they can skip some races without being fined or having organizers getting mad at them, so they can be fresh for the championships that are coming up. I would like to circle back to Toon Aerts, because we need to, of course, cover a couple of riders who aren't necessarily in the greatest form, but we like to be positive today. That's what we're going for, positive energy only. And Toon Aerts today, actually a good ride. You could see some signs of improvement last week already in Namur, Issam. I think you mentioned that he was up there, but then crashed, mechanical, went way back down and couldn't really get back up. But today it seemed quite good. He was up there, eager at the start, took the whole shot. And he stuck with it quite well. It's also just the proof that a course like Koksijde, while it requires sand, it's also just a brutal course. The running, the dismounts, sand, I don't know if probably many of our listeners have, but if you haven't, sand is not easy to ride through. It requires quite a lot of power, especially with the elevation on the Herrijgersduin. I think that might just be the single best shot there is in cyclocross, on the long camera arm, dropping down low on the Herrijgersduin, and you can just look over these little bumps of elevation and you can really see it on TV. Just the ruts flowing across, the left side on the TV screen being lower than the right side, riders cutting across, swerving through. That's one of the best shots there is in cyclocross, and you can really see from the TV what you can see when you are there, which is very unique. You don't always get that same sense there. So the Herrijgersduin, you need to go up before you can go down. The big dune in the beginning, the run up, it all adds up, which also means you need a big engine to come to the front of this race. You can't really get away in a race like Ruddervoorde or in a race like Hamme with just technical skills. So Toon Aerts definitely good today, and for him the same goes as what we said about Van Toerenhout. Come those more climby courses, come potentially the more muddy races, then let's see what Toon Aerts has in the tank, because that could be another of couple good performances. We know that he has it in him. Those European stars on his jersey didn't come by accident. Then let's move to the women's race, because there we had another win for Lucinda Brand. 12th win this season out of 14 starts, and it came in a, well, dominant fashion, can we say? Can we say more dominant than the other races? I'm not too sure about that, but early on in the race she broke away with Aniek van Alphen. For a brief moment, a few others came back. Puk Pieterse, Sena Alvarado, and her teammate Shirin van Androoy. And it was Van Androoy who was able to follow the longest, mainly because she had a great passage on the Herrijgersduin. On the men's side, it was relatively easy. Almost all the front runners rode through it. But on the woman, it was more of a defining feature. Brand not able to ride it every lap. Van Androoy, great. But ultimately, Brand was a lot more powerful than Van Androoy. Powered away to take the win by over half a minute over her teammate. For third, there was a bigger scrap. Once again, one that you didn't see the outcome of on the TV. Van Alphen there for a while, then got caught by Alvarado. Alvarado not really pushing through too eagerly, allowing Puk Pieterse to come back. Pieterse hanging on the yo-yo, but taking the lead in the final lap. And then off camera something happened. I assume it was a crash. And that meant that her lead in third place was gone. We got a sprint between Van Alphen and Alvarado, which wasn't really a sprint because Van Alphen had nothing left in the tank. Alvarado sprinting to third place. Yet another dominant performance here by Lucinda Brand. Issam power, I think, made the main difference. Her sand skills were fine. But Van Androoy, everything I just said about Zweek and about Del Grosso also is applicable to Van Androoy. It brings me to one of my favorite Belgian cyclocross words, zandkliever. It means to love riding through the sand and doing it with seemingly seamlessness. So that is Van Androoy. Just the way she was going through that was good. You said yesterday, your words, that you didn't expect her to come to the top this quick. I certainly didn't either. I spent quite some time kind of warning, putting the red flags up. It will take some time. I was especially worried after I saw the training in Lichtaert before Tabor. But man, today was good, and yeah, definitely continuing that upward trajectory for her.
This is really on a level, I guess, that I didn't expect that would be able to be reached. I'm not gonna lie, this season. I thought that this season it would be maybe fighting for a top 5, maybe getting a top 5 here and there. But now she's just, today was pure on merit. She was able to hang in there. Sure, she gets a course with the sand, and she is, terrific through the sand. She can really find her way quite well, and was by far the most natural, the way she was riding through the sand on the women's side. And what she said as well, the Christmas period is still quite long, so there is still some races there coming up. And I like how she basically is growing into the season. It isn't a peak and then it kind of fades away again, and then another peak, and then it fades away. No, you see the trajectory, you see the vision, you see the way it's going, and that is quite interesting. And also, I guess, the way you have to kind of handle a situation she had been in, and if you want to come back, you should take your time and be patient. And I think that she did all that, and is now on a fantastic roll, and has to just try and continue that, and not try to put now more pressure on yourself because you now have been in second place. Of course, that is quite difficult to not do, because now you kind of have these expectations. You kind of think that it is just going to be a given in a way. But yeah, for sure, it's great to see that she was able to hang in there, get second place. But yeah, there was no answer on the way Brand was riding today. Finally getting that win in Koksijde, her first ever win in a not so long career. Quite a career it already has been for Brand, but she never won in Koksijde, and I think part of that had to do maybe with the technique. And today Sure, it didn't look all too pretty at times, but I think it was still she was negotiating the sand quite well. And on the power sections, it was again, great to great watch. There's no one that can replicate that in the field at the moment, and it's just she just has a big up on the others, and that is just great for her. And she has been, I think this was more dominant than it was, but it's hard to compare. But I felt that this was definitely a race where she was in control the moment she was able to create the gap, and never really lost that.
Not many holes left on the palmarès of Brand. Make me reminisce of the early season when we were talking about Brand filling holes, winning races like Essa, but there are still a few classics missing on her impressive and long list of victories. I mean, just incredible the consistency she's able to put out, and I guess that also comes with the age, right? Like they still say, like, as you get older, you're able to handle the load better, you're able to kind of raise your floor. The floor of Lucinda Brand is extremely high. Her ceiling is also incredibly high, and that makes you one of the greatest riders. But I think mainly the thing is her floor. Like, it's just so high. She never or rarely ever has an off day. The last 2 years, it just hasn't been there. That's why her podium streak is at 55 races or something incredible like that. Nearly 2 years without Brand missing a podium in a single cyclocross race. That tells you something. Like, Thibaut Nys yesterday completely fell through the floor. Casasola still has a number of these races where she falls through the floor, today being one of them. Probably still a bit sick, I heard, was the reason for a skip in Namur, not feeling fully recovered, but she doesn't have these off days, and that's just incredible and should be noted again next to the name of Brand. Van Anrooij, her ceiling is certainly very high, and I'm very excited to see her work towards that. I'm curious, Issam, you are our expert on running. What did you think of her running today? I mean, to me it seemed very good, and I was wondering if that's just my bias because she was a former duathlete and also competed in the Youth Olympics on the 800 meters and finished 4th or 5th. What did you think of Van Anrooij's running today? Although she didn't need it that much because she was able to ride a lot of the sand.
Her running is good. She's a natural runner in a way, and I think that is for sure. With cyclocross, there is obviously the whole thing of carrying a bike. You know, you cannot let your bike just there and run without it. So you can definitely see that, you know, running with a bike makes it a little harder, and especially with the sand, you kind of get stuck in it a little bit more. But she's a natural runner, and she's able to just great form, and then it makes the running a little bit easier because I don't know where I heard this, but I think it was yesterday on the Eurosport broadcast, and they were talking about, the running mainly helps with your conditioning, and it doesn't really help with the whole running during cyclocross. And I think I disagree with that. I think that if you can work on your form and your technique without a bike, I think that you can carry that with you into cyclocross. I mean, I can remember someone like Van der Poel, how he was in his early days with his running. It was awful. It was atrocious. It was really bad. And I think that you could definitely see that he picked up running outside of the trainings that he's doing for on the bike, and it helps. It definitely does. And I think with Van Anrooij, someone that is a natural runner, that it just comes up, and you can see it. If you go uphill, you just try to shorten your steps. You try to have the nice frequency as well, and those are things that just kind of help. And even if you are in a very bad moment, as we saw, for example, yesterday with Petersen, where you just saw that just stuck in the mud, even though it was sand, but she was still stuck in it. It was very heavy. And I think that if you are a natural runner, even if you are at your worst, you're still able to kind of have, work on your technique, and you can hold your form quite well. And I think that Van Anrooij has that. It is a gift, and it's, for me at least, a pleasure to watch. And as you said, Casasola out, I think she had some respiratory issues or something, and she felt that, and, just stepped out. I mean, Schreiber as well, not having her best day, also DNF. So it is not, the field is not as wide as we would have maybe wanted it to be. That is just something that we have been talking about now for a couple of episodes, and it's just a fact, and we have to work at that. There's no issue with that. I think that Brand is just at the moment just very dominant, very strong. Nothing that we can take away from that. I just like a little bit of competition, and I like that on the men's side as well, which we didn't know we are not always going to get with Van der Poel. Brandt on the other side is doing the same thing, and there you can only give that props and enjoy that, enjoy that dominance as hard as it is.
I think we both are fans of close racing, and that doesn't really take us or make us take anything away from the win of Brandt. It's just we would prefer to see a closer battle, and last year we had more of those, and it is what it is, right, this situation. So let's look at that battle for third, because that was enjoyable. Issam, do you think Aniek van Alphen set out too fast? Because in the beginning she was with Brandt, then fell back, was with Alvarado, and in the end just seemed a little bit deflated. In hindsight, did she go out too hard? And that's the hindsight question, because at the moment it seemed, at least to me, to make quite sense, because she and Brandt pulled quite far away, but then Van Androoy brought a group of others back.
It's hard to say. I think that maybe it could have played a little bit different, but I still feel that it was maybe, it's also in Koksijde, it's if you are behind someone and you're like, oh, I'm gonna take it easy, just watch. You're gonna go through the sand, and then they make a very early mistake, and there you are running more than you have to, and you're losing out. Or maybe if someone is already gone, then you're never going to be in the race. So you always try to, if you get the opportunity, you try to enter the dune sections first, because you just know you don't want to be behind someone, and when they make a mistake, they hold you up. And so it's hard to say if that really played a role. I don't think that it really did. For sure, it played some role, and in hindsight, you can easily say that she probably set out a bit too fast and was too eager, and that it cost her eventually to really be in that fight. She was in that fight for a podium, but to have actually something left in the end also for that sprint. But yeah, it is what it is. I think that she still rode quite well, as we have been saying about her actually for the entirety of the season, where sure there were a few races where it wasn't that great, but overall she has been on a roll as well, and made some great steps, and today it was again very visible.
It is a hindsight discussion, right? So I already kind of initiated that or implicated that in the question. In hindsight, maybe she should have taken a different approach, but you don't know that. So it's easy for us to reason that for her. I think that, like I said, in the moment it made a lot of sense. And yeah, she rode well. I think I had expected a lot more from Inge van der Heijden today. It didn't really come as a surprise after yesterday. Doesn't really seem like van der Heijden is having the best form. We didn't due to circumstances in Noah's 9 before the Christmas period started, but you did hear my 9 list, and I had Brandt, Van Alphen, Casasola as top 3, then Pietersen, Van der Heijden. So I did have Van Alphen moving up, and she's definitely not been a bad pick for that. We'll update these rankings after Zolder. So yeah, just once again, impressive by Van Alphen. Alvarado getting it in the end. Pietersen, I thought, actually made a surprisingly good impression in the second half. She's not a good sand rider. She was struggling quite a bit in the first half, but in the second half seemed to find her groove a bit, find the flow, not making that many mistakes. I really thought she had it in the last lap. In the Herreigersdune, she pulled away from Alvarado. I don't know if that was on the TV, but I saw it happen in front of me. She pulled clear, and then I left, and I don't know what happened on the Albertdune, but she was just gone, and probably made a mistake, but it looked quite good. And I mean, again, like, her results are 4 and 5, but at some point we will probably see her end on the podium on a course that suits her more. I do think that those opportunities will come, and Gavere is what I'm looking forward to for her. Let's see it. I think that's a good course for her, and today, of course, doesn't suit her. Did quite well. In the end, Alvarado gets it. Alvarado a bit of a yo-yo race. Bad start, comes back. Iffy middle part, may I say. And then in the end, she is there with some clutch, Gene.
Yeah, and Alvarado has that in a way. Yeah? She can make from a good race, she can make it an even better race if she gets that opportunity. And it has to go her way in a sense. But I think that, when she gets there, she will make the best out of it. And I don't know how you think about that, but I think that with Pietersen, maybe that the relatively bad start, or at least taking it a little bit easier at the start, maybe helped her in the race, and that she was not really able to spend a whole lot of energy, and maybe pace herself better in the race. It's a shame that she in the end was not able to fight for she was able to fight for a podium, but just fell back. I don't know what happened, but she wasn't there, and then it was gone. So I think that for Peters, it will come, eventually. It would. You can see that there is also some progression there. It looks to be that she entered the season with a form that wasn't amazing, and that she left some margin in a sense where she wants to grow more into the season, and that is just something we have to kind of wait, and it will evolve and it will get better, and we will see it eventually. And I think that I totally agree with you that when you go maybe to a race like Havre, that is a race where she normally would get a course that suits her that suits her quite well, so she should do well normally. But I think that she should try and not be that eager, pace herself well. When you do that, you give yourself a chance, I guess, in the later phase of the race, and you still have something left. And maybe that plays a role, but that's how I look at it.
Let's look at the entire top 10 then. Brand, Van Anrooy, Alvarado, Van Alphen, Pietersen, Van der Heijden, Betsema, Bentveld. A full Dutch top 8. Sadly. 9th place for Kristina Zemanova, with Amandine Foucounet completing the top 10. And as we are on this positive flow, Issam, Amandine Foucounet, there are conversations with teams getting underway. Teams are interested in her.
Well, that's great news, to be honest. I mean, do you know what teams we're talking about, or that's still disclosed?
That's not disclosed, but later on this episode I will play a interview with the French national coach François, and he said and confirmed that there were discussions ongoing and going, according to him, in the right direction, with numerous teams following her performances. So yeah, that's a little bit of a teaser for that. And today was an okay outing for her, not a good course for her. Sand, not her main skill, fell back a little bit, but it was a good outing. I think if you talk about the course, it's not really a course for her. It was a course for Betsema. Betsema is having a fine season, maybe a little bit under the radar. She's doing a bit better than last year, getting her name into those top 10s quite a bit more than last year. Okay, we can attribute it maybe to the competition or whatever, but in recent years, Betsema has been on a slippery slope. It's got from bad to worse, kind of, in a way, if you want. Not really sure if she would have a team, and now at least that seems to be stopped. So that's a positive I did want to share about Betsema. Zemanova, another good result. I wanted to say as well, Lucia Bramati made quite a big step, again at 12th place. She also had a 12th place in Tabor. Yesterday, also in the top 20. She had her top 10 in Terralba, but maybe she has a top 10 in one of these races in store as well. Scrap the U23s, and with Bramati, you're looking at a contender for a top 10 at the World Championship. So definitely that was interesting. And yeah, for the rest, Issam, I didn't really have too much on the women's side from the lower top 10. I think we discussed it, unless you still have somebody somewhere you want to point out.
Not really. I think we have summarized it quite well. We're getting into a phase as well where we're kind of expecting. We have like a pattern, and I feel like some are definitely falling in a certain pattern. I definitely agree with you on Betsema. It is definitely a great outing, and it looks like it's heading towards a season where it's just on the up compared to what it was. What it was last season. So that transfer definitely it is a positive and helped her out, and also in terms of the form, I guess it is better. And sure, the starting field is not that great in terms of how wide it could have been. Regardless of that, I think she would have done probably worse if you compare it to what she did last season, and if you expect that the performance would be similar to that. So I think that the props can still be given, and it is a bit under the radar and just to be mentioned. So here we do it.
Okay, then the youth races. Issam, under 23 race, quite a good one today, going back and forth. Albin Sparfel, guess what he did? Full gas from the start, made a number of moves. Forced a separation. It was him up front together with Jordi Corses, but it wasn't really Sparfel who necessarily paid the price for that in the later stages. That was Corses. But first it was Haverdings who bridged across a 12 to 15 second gap. Haverding staying very calm, kind of riding this race like you see a lot of speed skaters, right? The 10K. They go to the halfway point and then they put the hammer down. And then they see if they are able to ride a good 10K or if it's going to be a bad one. And for Haverdings, it was a good one because he came across. We had Sparvel, Haverdings and Courses up front. Later, Van den Einde and Sola got in the mix, but they never really contended the podium. Were Haverdings and Sparvel. Sparvel setting the pace in the penultimate lap, then the inevitable happened. Kind of just like in Tabor, Haverdings with a phenomenal final lap, storming away to take the win ahead of Sparvel. Courses out of gas in the final lap, totally, and it was Van den Einde who managed to overtake Sola and the dying stages to take what I believe is his first under-23 World Cup podium. He was very happy with that. My takeaways here is Haverdings is becoming a bit of a clutcher. His final lap at the European Championships was good, secured him of the silver medal. Tabor, final lap, was the moment. Today as well, you're looking at it, you're thinking, David Haverdings, show me what you got, show me what you got. And then he does. He bridges that gap, and in the final lap at the right moment, he makes the overtake after, or before the first Herrijgersdoen is when he took the lead, so just after the first pit is when he made the overtake. Stormed through to take the win. Really good, and I've said it before, one more time I'll say it. He needs this. He's a final year U23. He must get these performances. The time for him is now.
Yeah, absolutely. The time is now, and it's great that he gets those results. And I think that is also great to see that Sparvel, despite his fast starts and the fact that he's not taking it easy in a sense, is that he's still able to hang in there. Imagine if he's actually going to be tactically and in terms of in the race as well, being able to just have this way of looking and reading a race and trying to make use of that reading that you're doing, and spending the energy at the right moment. What a rider he can become, and I think that will just come with experience. Some riders don't have that, but I hope that he is going to be a rider that will have that. And eventually, if you're so strong, there is going to be a point maybe as well that you're going to be so strong that it doesn't even matter. So we have to wait and see. But it's great to see that Haverdings is pulling on those results. But I think one of the things that I saw from the results actually, and you can comment on it and give your idea on it, but can we call the fraud police for Kai de Bruikere? Because what's going on there?
Yeah, I had it on speed dial today, and I definitely needed to put the call in. I called the fraud police. They arrested him from 26th position because here's the thing with Kai de Bruikere. Actually, last year I think was a great story and a great developmental element to it. This guy, third year U23, races his first World Championships, finishes on the podium, not selected in the junior ranks, really showing resilience. Keep investing in his career, even though the odds are stacked against him. Every time he's in the casino, it's black every time, and he bets red every time. But he just keeps betting on red, and in the end, it pays off for him with a silver medal. This is not a reason to keep betting on red, people. Don't go to bingo and waste all your money. But this is, it was a great story and a great element of, okay, so it is possible. You don't need, even in this day and age, to be the best rider in the junior categories. But I also am always very, very wary when third, fourth year U23 puts in this one season. Maybe I learned from my mistakes around Gerben Kuipers, but it's always okay, nice, you show this one season, now can you replicate it? And this season, the start was just not that good. A rider of this caliber, you want them to make the next step, and that means that if you go to Sweden for UCI points, you cannot be losing to Clément Horny. It means that if you raced U23 races in the X2O series when not everyone is there, you need to be winning. And he wasn't. At the European Championships, he was very good and kind of made me doubt it again. He was very good in the sand there, but today, no, not good in the sand, not good physically. Tabor and Flamanville, nothing to write home about. Not bad, but definitely not going the way it should have gone. And today, other riders profited. Sparvel, kind of where you would expect him, very strong rider. The technique is not bad either. Guus van den Einde capitalizes with a great result. Kaya Sola getting his best result in the U23 category. His first really good result in quite some time in this category. So the Dutch definitely ruled. What I will say is that because it's such a sandy course, it definitely suits the Dutch and Belgians a bit more because they have more experience with it, have more opportunities to train in it. So in Dendermonde we might see different results. Courses for me, the strongest one through the sand today, then probably Van den Nijn, the closely matched with Haverdings, Sparvel and Sola slightly behind. But also, kind of a reoccurring theme here is the Italians. Agostinacchio, bad start, way down there, 40 seconds down in 30th in the first lap, fights his way through the field, 6th place, has a couple of fast laps, strong outing for the European champion. I spoke to him after the race. He said, because I'm a first year, I'm starting at like the 3rd or 4th row for many of these races, and today the people in front of me didn't go soon enough at the light. I was far back, and then I just put my head down and cut through the field. Vietzi, he was further up there in the rankings, but had a similar race. Not a good start. You're thinking, bad day. But these Italians, they don't give up. They put their head down, put in some fast laps. Vietzi definitely struggling a bit more in the sand than Agostinacchio. Vietzi may be more a guy for the muddy courses, Agostinacchio for the fast courses, observation we shared before. But I'm still relatively high on these two Italians and think that we will see a World Cup podium from them this season.
Yeah, I can only share with you that thought. I think that, Koksijde is definitely a place where you want to be starting a little bit more ahead. And when you have a bad start here, it costs you so much time. I saw some riders in the elites races that didn't have the greatest of starting, and before you know it, you already have 15 seconds here, and then the next passage is 5 or 10 seconds, and before you know it, your race is almost done. So the fact that they are still able to fight through it because it's just a tough course overall, it says something about your mentality as well. And I agree with you. I think that both Agostinacchio maybe a bit more, but Vietzi as well. He has that power in a sense, so it will be they will be up there. And who knows, come the World Championships, what that will mean. But they are definitely a force to be reckoned with, 100%.
Then let's move to the women's junior category. There, a Lise Revol show, powered away in the first lap. Second passage of Herrijgersduin was the last time Isis Versluis saw her. Revol taking a win, Grossman still not here. Her main rival, Barbora Bukowska, having an atrocious day in the sand. It just wouldn't click for her. Bukowska finishing 16th, 4 minutes behind. Day to forget for her. It then became a battle for second. Elisa Bianchi was in there for a while, but she paid the price for an earlier effort. Faded a little bit. Lali Pichon was second in the first lap. Faded a bit and then came back. She made a few mistakes in the second lap, but then managed to find her flow. Very good outing for the French with a 1-2. Isis Versluis coming home for third. One of the riders with a better sand technique. I will just take a bit of a step back. Applaud Lise Revol. She's a lot more mature rider than last year. And this is weird to say about somebody who is literally a world champion already in the junior category, but she looks more matured, more muscular, slightly bigger than she was last year, more powerful. Again, I get why she's racing the junior schedule. That's the way the French do it. It's probably also for the best and should be the way that the women's sport is developing. We should be having a full-on junior women's category where every race has one. None of this excuses of the X2O races or the Super Prestige saying, there is no woman that's going to come. None of that bullshit. Put the races there. They will come. And then we won't have this, but I would just love to see how Lise Revol would do in a woman elite field. I would love to see it, just out of curiosity, because I think she could do quite well. Just look at the performances Celia Géry is putting in. Then I don't think it's a stretch to say that Revol could also contend for a top 15 maybe on a course that suits her very well. What is a course that suits her very well? That's hard to say. Maybe a race like Gavre, a race like Namur, the tougher courses. I still think that she has a lot of potential there. A bit of unproven there, but to me, with the power she has, combination of quite good technical skills, she's already quite a complete cross rider, so very good result for her. And today, the French is they ruled here, 1 and 2 in this category. Aubin Sparvel second. They also had Lucie Elizalde taking a 9th place today here as a first year in the junior women's category. So, vive la France.
Vive la France. I have to say, if we are talking about, the French language, maybe a little tranquille on Revaux, I guess, because let her just play around there in the junior category. Let her prolong that title. That, I wouldn't say. I still think that you cannot rule completely out Bukowska, but Revaux, as you said, definitely is growing. And that is something that comes with age, with experience, getting through those races. I definitely 100% agree with you with the fact that it's just, I don't even know how they can come up with that excuse, to be honest. If there is a category, there has to be a race. And if you do the men juniors race, then you for sure have to do the women's junior race. And at times they have no shame and put the men junior on, and are like, well, okay, there you go. Enjoy the rest of your day. So it is what it is. It's the situation, and it will get better. I have a feeling that there already quite some steps have been made, so it will only get better from here. But yeah, Revaux has to be praised for the way she's been racing so far this season. A bit of an iffy start, but growing, literally growing into the season, and we have to wait and see what that will mean for the championships, because these races are all nice, but especially for the junior categories, it's the world championships that eventually will matter the most. She already has one, but how nice would it be if you can prolong that?
Definitely not ruling out Bukowska here for other courses, but she too would be a real nice rider to see up there, because she's been able to challenge Zemanova on her day, and we see where Zemanova is, and this is a very dangerous comparison I'm making, like this extrapolation of it, but that's just where my curiosity comes from. So that much said, let's move to the junior men. The first race of the day, and it started with a crash literally right in front of my eyes. Surabia Jamar, about 150 meters into the World Cup, unclipped from his pedal, made contact with the Italian next to him, and literally was a bowling ball. He was the third rider from the left, and he just wiped out everybody to the right. So yeah, that was crazy, and I think we should be very fortunate that all collarbones were intact. Schumacher, for his part, got going again and fought his way back to 12th place. But definitely some riders that were at the front were held up. We got a great battle. Grigolini broke clear right away, the European champion. He was in the lead until the halfway point of the race, and he crashed and the lights went out. We got a battle with Gilles Lejeune, Cas Timmermans and Delano Heren, 2 Dutch and a Belgian. Lejeune was really trying to lose this race. He made a lot of mistakes. Despite him being a phenomenal sand rider, he just couldn't chain it together. Heren broke clear. But then it was Lejeune in the last lap and a half who found his finesse. He brought back. Timmermans today, I thought, was actually stronger through the sand, but Lejeune more powerful, powered away in the last lap to take the win around the Albert Dune. Maybe the second passage of Herreigers, I'm not too sure. Win for him. Timmermans came in for third because Heren put in a very big sprint to take second place just behind Lejeune, and Noel Suarez, bad starting position, also somewhat held up by that crash. Very strong recovery to fourth despite not so good sand skills.
The celebration there in the end, and it's a suggestion, I'm not sure, but I think that he is under a lot of pressure, or at least he feels like he is under a lot of pressure, because that was a celebration where it seems to be that a lot of relief was involved in that as well, that finally, I got that victory. Now we can move on, and I hope for him, to be honest, that he can move on, and can just lessen that mistakes, because I feel that he is hurting himself so far this season more than his form is actually hurting him this season. I think that if he can clean up his ride a little bit, take out those mistakes, he can definitely be a force that normally should be more at the front. And for sure today, a lot played a role, mainly the start, which was ridiculous to watch in a way. I had to laugh. I should probably not laugh about it, because I'm thankful that everyone kind of got away from that safely. But it was in a way also hilarious when you sent it to me this morning. So yeah, it came back and I had to laugh. But for Lejeune, for sure, I hope that this is just the start of getting more into contention for race wins, because he's a last year junior rider. these are the moments, and it's just a shame if you are just going to ruin it yourself by making so many mistakes. So hopefully it will get better. But despite the fact that he won today, as you said, he made a lot of mistakes. So it is what it is, and I have to say that picture as well. It's a cool picture, so you can try and find a copy or something, make it bigger, put it on a wall, and enjoy it, because that's definitely those are definitely great memories.
Hang it in the Louvre, I guess. No, I fully agree that there's a lot of pressure on Lejeune, and it definitely is relieving. Maybe this frees up the head and he can really focus on improving the performances, or at least becoming more consistent. He's been very mistake prone this season. Just about the crash, when you laugh, I think it's more because like 85 juniors, this super long start finish straight, somewhat gloomy still, like it was barely light. I mean, I had the ISO on 800 on my camera for the video. The shutter was down at 1.7, so it was still gloomy. It's the shortest day of the year. It was light at like 8:20, 8:30. So I guess that's more where it comes from, just 80 or 70 adrenaline junkies storming at the first corner. It's just something, the juniors, it's something else, the racing there. Every corner, every start, every sprint, it's treated like it's the last one of their life, like they're retiring the next day and want to end on a high. So I guess that's more where that comes from than, of course, anything of the other parts. But I promised it, and to end this episode I have about 10 minutes of audio with the French national coach François. He is, of course, a former rider and has been running that program, and he elaborated a little bit on the successes they had in Koksijde and throughout the rest of the last couple of years, with a number of successes at the World Championships. François, the French team has been very good the last few years, also today, a win. Omas Parvel second, Brière-Jumar crashed. What do you think is the reason the French team has made such a big step forward the last few years?
Sometimes it just depends on the generations. We always had very good talents in France. Just sometimes they did choices to go on the road, on mountain bike. So actually we have big teams like Decathlon, who is trying to keep the good riders in their development, and some cyclocross team like as bike. So it's like the work of some teams, good generation, and we try to work more and more with the federation and my team, my staff, to make it better for the riders. So that's a good step.
So when you say you work together with the teams, how does that translate? When we walk through the parking, we see Decathlon, FDG also providing trucks. Is that just one example?
Yeah, it's kind of example, like just when everybody is working together. Like I used to go with the manager of the development team of Decathlon, maybe like in March, to do all we did during the winter, and just to be focused on the next winter, so we can work on the season program, the road program. And I do the same with Stéphane Delcourt and Flavien, the coach of Celia, for example, just to try to make it good, to have some period of recovery, to have some step for training. And so it's just like a work of a lot of people around and the riders, and I think it's why it's working better and better. But as you know, it depends of the sponsors, and it's very tiny.
Now, of course, Christmas period always leads to the World Championships. It's one day. Is that the biggest race for the federation, and is there any goals already set for that?
I mean, during the Christmas period, for us, the only goal is to continue to work for the World Championships. So we are just working the races, and we try to make some programs. Like Leo Bizio, for example, just started again his season. So we had a discussion with this manager, and to make a special program for him. So today was just restarting, and for some riders, you just have to continue to work regarding the World Championship, not ride every day, because we are not living in Belgium. So for the Belgium guys or from people from Netherlands, it's easier to come back to their house every night. But for French riders and all the staff, it's a lot of work. So we need to keep some energy for the end of January. So that's why we just do some races, but not everything.
So Lise Revol and Omas Parvel today on the podium. What are some things that they could still improve?
I mean everything. For like we both know like they are very young, and they need to work for like a long time, like just to imagine what they want to be at 25, and this is why we try to work with riders and managers to make a program like every step by step. This season we like for a few seasons I tried to work more and more on sand, because during few seasons it was always just trying to find some excuses to say like it's something for the Belgium. So now we are working more and more on the sand. That's why we had the French Cup on the final last week on the sand section. So the guys and the girls can have some more experience. And I work with Arnaud, you know, Arnaud Jouffroy, and we try to make a training camp special on the sand, so the guys and the girls can improve their level. And it's like just have to be focused on the long time, just not focus on the maybe 2 or 3 years, but just try to focus and step by step. We are not Belgium, we are not from Netherlands. We can't do the same exactly, so we had to stay like we have, like just the way we are. Like we have some races in France, we need to be at home. We can't be every time on Belgium, and because it can be 1, 2 or 3 seasons, but after you finish to be like out. So it's just like to continue as we try to be, like, and to be more and more on the elite program for Aubin. For example, next season we try to be more like on this kind of races. But I want and the team too like to stay in the under 23 races, so he can continue to have more and more experience, like Thibaut Del Grosso did, like Thibaut Taris did. So we try to keep some examples in girls and even guys, just to make the best program for them. And so we try our best, and we hope to have some good results in 4 or 5 years, so we can see the long time work.
When you say where you are when you're 24, 25, Amandine Foucounet is there this season, getting podiums in the World Cup. Of course, a lot of talent in France, but it must be difficult for you as national coach to see that we're here at 2 weeks until the end of the year, and she still doesn't have a team for January 1st.
Yeah, I know she has already some discussion with some teams, so we both like discuss about it. So I just try to be here for her, and so every girls and guys we need in this kind of time, because you know it's a lot of stress, and yes, they need to be supported. But it's just like a time in a career. Like every people who are doing a high level career, they have to be in this kind of situation, and you have to stay like resilient and to keep faith in your work. So I say to Amandine, you just have to continue to stay focused on your training, on your races, and one team will finish to sign you, it's sure. So just stay focused. And she's a very nice girl. Very nice girl. Like she was always like on the 4th or 5th position when she was under 23 behind Puck, Shirin and Femme. So she was very talented. But sometimes when you have big talent, you can't see all the talents. So Amandine is like this kind of girls who are good examples for the young girls. But you just have to continue to work step by step. And even if you can win some races in the young category, it's not like because you will become a elite rider. So you just have to work step by step as she did. And yes, I'm very proud of her, like Hélène and a lot of girls in France and boys. So it's more difficult sometimes for guys because they have to go on the mountain bike, like Joshua Dubois can't race on the mountain on cyclocross this season, and like Clément Venturini or a lot of guys would had to sign on the road. So yeah, just have like the hope to continue to work with other professional team who are already working in cyclocross, because I think it's the way that this kind of generation has to works, because it's not the same as like a few years ago. The youth, like I think the youth generation, they need to do a lot of things if they don't want to finish in a burnout. So you have to just control the time of recovery and to build a nice program. But they want to do like Leo Bizot today. He was like a child when he come back in cyclocross. For him, it was like a gift. So I think it's a very good thing to think about the energy and the pleasure you can take when you do what you want. And cyclocross is always something people and the riders like to do. So just have to build a program for the future, and we hope it can be good for us.
Then the final question: from any other national coach, what is something you would want to add to your own qualities?
it's it's difficult. Like sometimes when I see Garben and Angelo, maybe they are more calm than me. So Daniele is like having a big energy. So I think we are like all different, and we just have the same passion, and we are always talking together, and it's a nice. Like always a nice time to share sometimes point of views, and it's a lot of respect for what they do, and this is why I like Cyclocross, because it's like a family that you see every weekends, and like Mathieu is in United Kingdom too, so it's just like every guys we try to sometimes to help if we have a problem, or so yeah, just I think the more you have experiences, the more it's good. So I think every coach have their own experience, and this is the best to do. It's just to work and on a long time, and you can be better and better as a coach. So
okay, thank you. Good then, Issam. That wraps up this episode. A long one, of course. We had 5 races to discuss in Koksijde. We will be back tomorrow for Hofstade. Thank you so much.
I have to say the time flies here. I did not expect it was going to be so long, but yeah, it was. So thank you for having me, and it's on to the next one. I mean, I hope the listeners are not going to get tired from us at the end of this Christmas period. But we are definitely going to try and be back and cover all the races that are coming, or most of them, in the Christmas period. So looking forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for listening, and we will be back tomorrow. See you guys then. Goodbye.